And so I guess the first question for me, watching what I've seen so far, is when you are working with the football coordinators, um, are you actually recreating games play by play, or is there some latitude in there?
We worked with a great group out of LA called Game Changing Films. So they were decided to be hired onto the show through our producers. And Jesse Sheldon, Mike Sheldon, they're fantastic people. They're married, they're a great couple. And they have all different sorts of coordinators and staff is just phenomenal that they have too as well. And what they did in the beginning was they script out plays, but also Stu, our showrunner, gave them kind of like the beats and the stories of points of Aaron's career that he wanted to hit in certain games. So he would kind of give them point A to point B of what plays he wanted to highlight, and then they would kind of fill in the meat and potatoes. You know, so we knew we wanted to do Aaron's first catch in Cleveland, for an example. You know, that was scripted too as well. So there were a lot of things that were scripted, but then our football coordinators had to come in and really okay, a really great play to show his athleticism will be this way, or a great route could be this way. So they had the creative liberty as well, like everyone does on a film set. They had their own creative liberty to sculpt plays that Stu would then review, and then our directors would review, and then Ellie and Maggie and our DPs all would actually just come together and really put together as one.
You would come together in a huddle.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's Stuart Zickerman. Is that how he pronounces his name? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
And you were the UPM on the show.
I was the assistant production manager, and then eventually I was bumped up to the football production manager for football.
Copy that. So what, just for our audience, what does the assistant unit production manager do?
I assist.
I know the answer to that.
Yeah, right.
No, but so half the people listening here don't.
Right.
Right. I assist the production manager. We had two of them. We had Laurie Johnson and then Andrew Sachs. Two great people. I cherish them deeply too as well. And I would then basically assist them in daily operations of running the crew, maintaining the crew, and just maintain that everything is done the way that we're budgeted, that we're planning. And then our producers were Gail Barringer and Tyson Bidner too as well. I'd work with them as well. And it's just I just be kind of really the go between the producers and UPMs and the crew, and just more of like an on-set presence than, because those guys have a million things of paperwork too and meetings too as well. So I, as an assistant production manager, I was able to be more on set with the gang and kind of run the show, assist running the show in that way.
Sounds like you're kind of like the glue in between all these different moving parts.
That's exactly what I was going to say, you dick.
Yeah.
Beat you to it, motherfucker.
Yeah, I mean, it's a glue amongst great leaders. You know, I had a couple of great producers and a great production managers that I worked for, and it was a pleasure to be that voice for them, including to my own on the set too as well.
So then when you got bumped up to football production manager, that was specifically just for the football scenes, or what does that mean?
Here's the reality of it. Paul and I have done superhero shows and Daredevil and Jessica Jones, and they're hard, right? They're hard. And what we learned, this was my first sports themed show, and football was a character just like a villain's a character in a series, right? And I don't think what anyone really understood was the massive task that was going to go into this. So as a show was developing, and I was kind of bumped up to that position because it had to be wrangled. So it had to be, when we created Florida, it was in a dome in Florham Park, New Jersey, that we green screened the whole thing. And then because of the strike, we came back and it was too cold to go outside. So we ended up going to Orlando. So these are all things we could talk about, but you had to have someone just wrangling football. And again, still being that glue with your producers and your UPM too as well. You know, I mean, by no means did I become the ultimate leader in this by any means, but it's just a person that had to really just wrangle a lot of the football aspects, because someone's doing the story, someone has to do football, someone has to do everything. There's so many people that work within this, as you guys know.
Sure.
Just like when it comes to stunts too as well. There's so many moving aspects. So I really they let me Tyson Bidner was the producer at the time when more football was happening too, and he really let me run with it and just kind of wrangled that whole aspect of football.
I read a review in Slate magazine. They did a fact from fiction kind of story on the show, and one of the things they pointed out was how, because the writer is like a football blogger and a football journalist, and I'll link this article in the show notes. Like for those listening, I'll put it in the show notes. But he talked about how accurate everything felt and looked.
Well, that's credit to Stu. Stu did Ryan Murphy's production. You could do the link. They bought the oh my god, I can't believe I can't remember this. They bought the rights to the podcasts and the articles about Aaron Hernandez.
Right. And, so that was the Boston Globe did a podcast
yes.
on this.
Yep. And they came visit and everything. They were very nice. And Stu was really adamant about following the story points to putting it directly into the show too. And he's very creative and talented too as well, to put his own spin on things too. But the detail orient of Stu was unbelievable. I would even sit there sometimes. I remember on set, I'm like, Stu, was this real? Is this part real? It was he goes ask for a trade, right? We all know Aaron Hernandez's story. He goes and asks for a trade. He goes to the combine and asks for a trade. And as we're filming it, I found Stu. I'm like, did this really happen? Is this true? He's like, oh yeah, no, it's happened. It's true. It's true. So it was fun. There was many moments I stopped and I was like, did this really happen? And yeah, so it's a wild story to begin with, but yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, what was there a sense of responsibility on the set? I guess I could ask both of you guys. You both worked on this, but was there a feeling of responsibility? We need to get this right.
I mean, I think I'll just say, I think when it comes to anything that's actually happened and where someone can just been like, yo, play the footage and let's see the two, I think, that at least when you're in a production of this size, you have people that are kind of nerding out, making sure that you get those little details in there, and that are like, actually the play kind of ran like this and went this way.
And let's face it, this story's been heard how many times? 2?
Right.
So they needed to put a different spin and a different detail oriented, to their credit, to the writers and producers. They needed to be different. And I think is what's coming across, is they are being different with this whole series.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And so, were you a football fan and all that before that? I mean, look, I could tell, but I'm just saying, did that help? Was that part of why you got chosen to be the football production manager?
What is the name of your fantasy football league?
Yeah. Not saying that here. It's when it got to the point we were doing Wu-Tang, right? Wu-Tang Saga, American Saga for Hulu, right, for FX and everything, and they're fantastic too. And RZA and them, and then Gail Barringer was talking about this Aaron Hernandez show.
Wearing my rap coat.
And right, exactly, right. And myself, my good friend Dave Okino too. We were like, oh my god. We're gonna do a football show, like that's incredible. We get to the point they were like, just stop. You have to stop being so excited that you're doing football and get back into production managing. I was like, all right, fine. So Lori was like, you have to calm down. I'm like, I'm so excited. They were doing that.